Would all those who are willing and able please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Grant us, O Lord, light to our understanding, prudence in our investigating, foresight in our planning, sincerity in our deliberating, the grace to follow truth in our judgment. Help us to be moved in our decision either by fear nor by self-interest, and to do our work faithfully. May we respect the authorities vested in us, for Thou art the source of all authority, and may we use our directives for the common good and for Thy honor and glory. Amen.
Amen.
And while we're standing, if we could also again have a moment of silence for our departed Honorable Judge Karen Lawson. She will be laid to rest, I am understanding, this Friday, so if we could please, just a moment. Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Here.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Present.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Here. Very good. All right, this brings us to our first public comment portion. We do have a guest with us here today, Joey Tomsick. Joey, did you want to come up and share some good news with us?
Of course. Commissioner, thank you very much for this opportunity. Speaking of Judge Lawson, on behalf of the seniors of our community, this past week we also mourned the passing of Patty Mackey, who was an incredible advocate for the seniors of Lake County. She was a Ruth Densmore Award recipient, served on Fairport Harbor Mardi Gras Committee and numerous boards, including Lake Trend, Lake Metropolitan Housing Authority Board, Fairport Historical Society, and our own Lake County Council on Aging board for many years. And in fact, after her retirement, we named her as an honorary board member. She forged so many partnerships for seniors, using Council on Aging and other agencies to provide benefits for seniors. But her most proud achievement was in the early 1990s when it was under her influence that we brought a senior services levy to Lake County. And with her promotion of it, so proud that it passed that first year in 1992 and then every 5 years since. So her dream became a reality. And this morning we remember Patty Mackey, who will lie in state this Sunday. I'm here to tell you about March for Meals, which is our 16th edition of March for Meals. This is a national event that takes place throughout the month of March and celebrates and raises awareness and funds for Meals on Wheels. Each and every day of the week, about 750 individuals around Lake County receive a knock on the door, and once the door is opened, a friendly face presents a nice, nutritious meal to those seniors. And so Council on Aging never requests a dime for those meals, those services, thankfully, to the Senior Services Levy that helps support it, federal funding, and of course donations, and then events like March for Meals where we can raise dollars and awareness for the importance of senior nutrition. And so the event is March 18th. Certainly encourage all of our friends and supporters here in Lake County to join us at Great Lakes Mall. It's an early morning, 8 a.m. I will warn you, it's the morning after St. Patrick's Day. So just keep that in mind as you make your way to the mall early morning on Saturday, the 18th. And then we'll have some entertainment there. A kickoff at about 8:30. Gloria Jean's Coffee will be pouring regularly, and we'll be ready for a wonderful morning indeed. And we want to thank our top sponsor, which is the Western Reserve Area Agency on Aging. And so a wonderful morning indeed. And we have a website that's set up, Commissioner. It's march4meals.org, and that's a number 4 right in the middle there, March 4 Meals. We've got about 16 baskets up for grabs too, all with proceeds going to our Meals on Wheels program. Any questions?
So the morning after, it's what, all the leftover corned beef and cabbage?
There you go. I wish. Yeah. So, but thank you very much.
Great news, gentlemen. Anything to add?
All right.
Mr. President,
Sure.
I would just say, first and foremost, thank you to CEO Joey Tomsick and the Lake County Council on Aging for providing this most important service. I don't think most residents realize that the single greatest expense of the Council on Aging, their biggest investment in our community, is Meals on Wheels, because the need is so great. And as you say, Joey, it's not just about providing the food, which so many of our seniors do need as the costs of groceries only go up and up and up. It's about giving that wellness check, that exposure to another member of our community to make sure that they're okay. Because if you live alone, this might be the one contact you have for that wellness check. Make sure that our neighbor is still doing well, still okay. It's a huge public service. It's a great investment, not only of money, but time and volunteers. And you have folks from the entire county who participate in the program. So I will be at your March for Meals. And I know that so many hundreds of supporters are going to be there as well, because we're grateful for what your volunteers do year round. And the note on St. Patrick's Day, we're grateful to our bishop for granting us the exemption so that we can eat corned beef on St. Patrick's Day. And I'm sure that there are so many worthy fundraisers across the county, but I just throw out the Willoughby Hills VFW is doing their corned beef fundraiser on Friday on St. Patrick's Day. And now that the bishop has blessed it, and I have a feeling a bishop here might bless it as well, I think that we can, without any guilt on our conscience, support the many worthy fundraisers on St. Patrick's Day.
Thank you. Well said.
Mr. President?
Sir.
So having participated in the event in the past, the hard part's getting there, but it's a very enthusiastic crowd for the
Yeah, it
in
is.
the morning. So, but it's a great event. I encourage everyone to get there. It's a good time, and Meals on Wheels is such an important asset to this county, and I've got to see firsthand how it works, and that's a well-oiled machine, and with volunteers and coordination, and I don't know how you do it, but hats off to you and your staff.
Yeah, the staff and our volunteers, certainly. Thank you so much.
And while you're there, let's take advantage of an educational moment. So,
Yes.
recently contacted senior citizen, failing eyesight, needing help filling out checks to pay utility bills and stuff. What's a good mechanism for somebody like that in need to reach out to get a little bit of assistance?
Well, I've heard about the new program, Helping Hands, which is now being launched here in Lake County, and I think that would be the perfect opportunity, something like that, where I think contacting Lifeline, I'm pretty sure that is the
Sure.
proper channel, but for that type
One of the
of service.
trusted voices here.
I mean, you're talking about...
I call Aaliyah into the room too.
There you go, right. No, but, starting with that first call to our office, and then sort of peeling back the onion, figuring out exactly what is needed. Maybe it is Meals on Wheels, maybe it's a simple task like that. But certainly, then we send out our licensed social workers to do an assessment, and then from that assessment, we can start to make the proper connections and see what really is needed for that particular senior.
Gotcha. And one of the common things we hear is 211. They're kind of that clearinghouse. They help guide people. Mm-hmm. They can call you direct. They can also
Absolutely.
go direct. Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's always good advice, but it's better that it comes from you than one of the three of us, because again, trusted voices in the community.
There you go. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Good stuff. Thank you. All right. Well, we are in our first public comment portion. Mr. Massey. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Massey, 8196 Rainbow Drive. On behalf of Lobbyists for Citizens, I received a call from a citizen, asked me if I knew who Craig Berry's boss was. I have some issues with Craig Berry. I understand Craig Berry is the probation manager or director. So I'm just asking the Commissioners, who does Mr. Berry report to?
Certainly not us. Jason, do you want to field that one? I'm thinking, I can look to legal. There you go.
Yes, Craig Berry is the chief probation officer in the county here, and he works under the judges, the County Police Court Judges General Division.
All of the judges, is that correct?
I believe General Division, but I'm pretty sure it's just the General Division judges that handle the
So it's not one particular
felony cases,
judge?
the criminal cases.
Criminal cases? Okay, thank you very much, appreciate it. I'll pass that along. The other issues, on today's agenda, I think it's number 15, I just noticed that there is a request for $260,000 from Clerk of Courts Faith Andrews, and it is for the Visitors Bureau, something to do with the wineries. And I'm just asking for, perhaps explain to me, I know that I was at the budget meeting for the Clerk of Courts, and they have about $5 million. How does that actually work as far as, does the Clerk of Courts have total control over that? Or is that really under the control of the commissioners?
Okay, this is not that. Okay.
I would assume that there has to be some sort of checks and balances, and one person can't automatically dictate where the money is to be spent. It's got to ultimately go through the commissioners. Is that not correct?
Yes, well, just for those who may be wondering, just handed some graphics, has nothing to do with this. I apologize for the distraction.
Okay, I'm
So
sorry.
if anybody wants to know what in the heck we're talking about, but this has to do with item number 1,
Okay.
not item number 15. I apologize, I'm scrambling. I believe you're going to find that the appropriation in, okay, let me unpack this, and if I screw something up, I'm doing a good faith effort. I believe you're talking about an appropriation increase of $275,000, not $260,000.
I'm looking at here that equates to approximately 260.
Fair enough. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing and what is before this board for consideration. when we
Okay,
get to item
something happened in the number. All right, 275.
So this is just this is a two-step process. This is just doing the appropriation increase. This is not taking the money out of the $5+ million and moving it to the general fund with an understanding that it's going to go to the Visitors Bureau. So hopefully I've answered that question. As far as the certificate of title, as I understand it, I don't know that I do see some representatives here from there. Those dollars are generated in title because of fees that are charged. One of the things I believe is called poundage. When transactions take place, there are dollars that are accumulated. Their level of efficiency is such that they are able to do the job for less than the overall cost of the performance of that task. Those numbers are set, I believe, by statute. I'm looking to legal, so throw something at me if I say something that's not accurate.
Well, if you
Chime in,
I may,
sir, please.
Yes, certificate of title fund is under the Clerk of Courts operation. And there's also statutory authority for, at some point in time, depending on the monies in that fund, there can be a declaration of excess funds in that. And it would be determined by both the Clerk of Courts as well as the Board of Commissioners, and that those funds that are declared excess would then go to the county general fund.
Okay, so there's definitely a check and balance in there, and that's just not one person. I'm not referring to, Faith Andrews as a one person, just any clerk of court. I'm just trying to understand the process for the citizens that they generate. I know it's not called profit in government, but they generate revenue in excess of their expenses, so their surplus funds. And that money then, if it's declared surplus, can be used within the community. It can't be given back to the taxpayers, is that correct? It has to be spent.
It goes to the general fund, and the Board of Commissioners has control over the general fund, and there's various expenditures that are allowed by law, and that's what happens.
Okay, thank you very much. So I understand that process then. But the $275,000 now, what are we purchasing for $275,000, and who will benefit from the expenditure?
Well, we can have this conversation now or when we get to item 15, which I'm kind of thinking that might make more sense, but it's...
May I come up and listen to that then? I'll wait.
We're not going to throw you out of the room.
Okay. All right.
You have the right to hear. But in brief, it has to do with, well, I could just, Faith Andrews, Lake County Clerk of Courts, I have a communication dated March 1, 2023. Dear Commissioners, County Administrator Jason Boyd and Budget Director Mike Matus, I am in receipt of Mr. Boyd's email dated February 28th and March 1, 2023, relative to COT, which I believe is Certificate of Title funding for various projects. New paragraph in that regard, as provided in section 325.33 of the Ohio Revised Code, I wish to declare an excess of $275,000, open parenthesis, $275,000, close parenthesis, and request that it be transferred to the general fund, period. New paragraph. I would respectfully request that this surplus be allocated to the fund proposed Gateway Arch and photo op signage project for Lake County's Visitors Bureau relative to the Grand River Valley region, period. Thank you in advance for your consideration. I remain sincerely Faith Andrews, Clerk of Courts, and it shows enclosure. Again,
How many wineries do we have? How many businesses do we have in the wineries?
in the region or in Lake County?
Say in the region, I guess.
Numerous.
It was
Wow.
up to
Neil
35.
Stein, if you're watching, please come upstairs. Neil's one of our frequent visitors, Visitors Bureau viewers.
I believe it was up to 35, but it seems like we had,
Well, if there's 30 or 35, I'm just thinking, as a businesses that if we're going to spend $275,000, then those 35 businesses are going to benefit from that, and that's, I don't know, what is that, $7,000, $8,000 that they could actually come up with the money on their own to build an arch. And do the people of Lake County have to spend the $275,000? I just bring that to the commissioner's attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And I do actually have that to have a little more detailed discussion on it when we get to that point. I just don't want to get the conversation.
I won't get you out of the sequence.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your understanding. Okay, Mr. Music.
John Music, 45 Coventry Drive. First of all, I want to thank Joey over here for what he does to the seniors here in Lake County. And the thing about it is, it's just like I have said many times, may it be the seniors, Job and Family Services, or the sheriff. If they come in someday and say, we have nothing to do today, we have jails empty and so forth and so forth, but that isn't happening here in Lake County. And just like Mr. Massey was talking about, we have to start thinking of spending our money better. We have needs come before wants, and we need to work on our needs here in all levels of government, and the wants are going to have to hold off for a while. So anyway, I just want to say that. And lastly, we always talk about Lake County, and I get this one paper on Friday. It's a nice paper. And just think about this. This was in the Painesville Municipal Court arraignments. There were over 12 people that were cited for driving without driver's licenses. And there was, less than 5 driving under suspension. The question of it is, okay, people say, oh, it's really nothing, don't worry about it. But, like I've said many times here, lawlessness breeds lawlessness. And I don't care, just like in some parts of the country, if you only steal $999, nothing happens to you. But I know this, I would never drive without a driver's license. And the thing about it, if they were to get in an accident, uninsured motorists, you're going to have to pay for that unless you go to civil court down the road. But beside the point, what are we getting to where, just like I've said other times, you could take a gun and drugs on that table there until somebody picks it up. Nothing's going to happen. So, yeah, if they're able to drive without driver's license, why have they decided to do so? That's my question. And then in all reality, I think it's wrong. We do have laws, and I don't care at what level the laws are. Why are more and more people deciding to not follow our laws? And to me, that's a big concern in Lake County, Ohio, and in our country. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, anyone else wishing to address the board at this time? Anyone else? Sir, please.
Mr. President, Commissioners, Rick Marty, Executive Court, Concord, Ohio. Basically, I wanted to bring an update to what I've been doing in reference to Flippin Lake County and Phillips Valley. I had gone to the Willoughby Building Department on the 7th of March to file a complaint on a house being renovated without any permits. I spoke to Larry, and I believe his name is Pushkas, who was the building inspector. He assured me that he would go to that house and see what's going on, and if so, put a stop work order if there's no permits there. I didn't hear nothing from him until 2 days ago. I had gone in there, and he told me he hadn't had a chance to go there yet, but he was going to go there that day. I left him at 8:45 in the morning, or 8:30 in the morning. About 10 minutes later, I got a phone call, kind of a threatening one, from a party that informed me that I should back off because I don't know who I'm dealing with. And Angelo Gallo's name come up. So at that point, I told the party on the other line that I don't take threats real well, and I'm under a mission to do what I can to dissolve Flippin Lake County and the things that he's doing. And at that point, they offered me monetary settlement, and I said, no, I'm not, I don't take bribes, I don't take threats very well. So I did call the mayor, Bob Fiala, I believe his name is, and I talked to him about this. He assured me that he will not tolerate with any corruption or anything in his city. I told him that Larry, when I did some research on him, he has 13 years of experience in all areas of code enforcement. He's state certified residential building official and a building inspector. And I told him that I feel that Angelo Gallo, who told me personally he owns the city of Willoughby, and he'd appreciate if I wouldn't come there. So at this point, I'm following up. I'm going to meet with the mayor again today and see what I can resolve with this. I just don't like corruption. When I feel I'm doing the right thing and I get threatened or I get bribed, that don't sit well with me. So I just want to update on what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and I thank you guys for your time.
Sir, thank you for joining us today. Anyone else wishing to address the board at this time? Anyone else? All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. If you proceed with item number 1, please.
In the engineer's office, resolution to advertise for bids for the LAK County Road 535-0.24 Booth Road Bridge in the city of Kirtland, Ohio. Federal project number E230160, PID number 117512, LCE project number 2022-018, bid opening April 19, 2023.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution to advertise for bids for State Route 2 mowing 2023 in Lake County, Ohio. Bid opening March 29th, 2023.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. President,
Sir.
if I would just say, I really am grateful to our engineer's office for the extra effort they've been putting in responding to resident concerns. There are definitely a lot of areas on Route 2 where we have to deal with litter and garbage and issues, and every time I call Tracy, Mr. Gills, the whole team, you just do an extraordinary job of being responsive. So I want to thank you for taking all of my many questions and calls and responding so quickly to residents.
Very good. If there's nothing further.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution to advertise for bids for county roads, pavement markings 2023 in Lake County, Ohio. Bid opening March 29, 2023.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution providing for the issuance and sale of not to exceed $10,250,000 aggregate principal amount of notes in anticipation of the issuance of bonds to pay costs of constructing, reconstructing, paving, and otherwise improving road improvements in the county, including related improvements and all necessary appurtenances thereto.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Do we want to give a little background on that, or do we wanna- that's basically the road improvement program associated with the permissive $5 license plate fee that was entered into about 3 years ago, that our engineer's office engaged about 12 years worth of backlog, got things tidied up in 2.5 years. The total savings in doing that had to do with one, cost of the materials at the time, but also avoiding full depth repair, a lot of mill and fill and spot repairs rather than complete replacements. So I'm looking over to an engineer here in case I say anything wrong, and I'm getting some very polite nods and a smile, so I'm doing pretty good.
You did very well.
Oh, bless you. Okay, if there's nothing further, just want to get that little background into the discussion, because $10 million is not a trifling amount of money. With that, Madam Clerk, roll call, please. Thank you.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
In the Utilities Department, resolution increasing appropriations and transferring cash within Lake County Department of Utilities Sewer Operating Fund and Project Fund 403S, St. James Relief Sewer, Bellflower, Palmerston Sanitary Sewer Rehabilitation Phase.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution authorizing execution of an agreement with BEL Environmental Engineering Incorporated for 2023 air compliance services for the Lake County Solid Waste Facility.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Randy, you want to give some background to that one?
Thank you, Commissioner. This is Bell Environmental we've been working with for several years. This is a general contract to help us out with the requirements. We have permits at the landfill for several entities, and one of them is air through the EPA. And this is for testing for methane gas along the surface of the landfill. 4 times a year we have to do that quarterly.
Thank you, sir. Okay, if there's nothing further, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution authorizing execution of an agreement with Bell Environmental Engineering Incorporated for 2023 engineering and environmental support services for the Lake County Solid Waste Facility.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Again, Randy, if you want to.
A similar agreement. This is for general services. They are helping us out with our gas collection system installation project that we're doing right now, and then other services during the year to keep us in compliance out of the landfill.
Excellent. Thanks, sir. All right, if there's nothing further, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution certifying unpaid water and sewer sums and administrative charges to the Lake County Auditor.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution to cancel the advertising and bid opening for Vine Street Waterline Replacement Project Number 447W.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Randy, do you want me to just say this is an abundance of caution? There was a clerical error, and we're just making sure that that doesn't bite us? Maybe that's not the legal term. Is bite us good enough for the sake of conversation?
Close enough, Commissioner.
Thank you. All right, if there's nothing further, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution approving plan specifications and estimates of cost in the amount of $2,589,566 for Vine Street Waterline Replacement Project Number 447W and re-advertising for bids for the same, bid opening April 5th, 2023.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Randy, you want to add anything to that, or is it pretty much what it says is what it is? Very good. Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
In the Commissioner's Office, resolution authorizing execution of a sole source agreement with Federal Signal for the replacement of 50 sirens located on the west end of Lake County in an amount not to exceed $1,564,650.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. I believe we have Paul Stefanko, our Telecommunications Director. Sir.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Commissioners, the siren system in Lake County currently has two components. One is located inside the EPZ, or the Emergency Planning Zone, which is the responsibility of the Perry Power Plant. And the second part of the siren system is located on the west end of the county. There are 50 sirens in that component of the system, and those are owned by the Lake County Commissioners and the responsibility of the Commissioners. All of these sirens went in at about the same time, which is at the time that the power plant was built. The sirens that are owned by the Commissioners were replaced, the electronics were replaced about 20 years ago. The poles and the grounding and so forth are original. The electronics and cabinets and siren head are obsolete. Parts are no longer available and need to be replaced. The sirens continue to fail at any given time. We're missing about 5 sirens, and we've been piecemealing them together to try and keep them operational, but the system does need to be replaced. The Perry Power Plant replaced their system in the past 5 years, over the past 5 years. And the purpose, or the reasoning behind sole source is twofold. One is the only manufacturer of these sirens is the same manufacturer that the power plant uses, so we have to buy the same kind of siren that's going to go into the system with the Perry Power Plant. So that's why we can't buy it from another manufacturer. It has to be purchased from this, and it is being purchased through a manufacturer. As I mentioned before, these are owned by the Commissioners. The sirens inside the EPZ are a mandate. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission and Federal Emergency Management Agency require those sirens to be in operation, and the sirens outside the EPZ are not mandated. So those are a decision by the county to have those, and they are also, though, part of the warning system. So if there was a problem at the power plant, all 100, and there's actually 102 sirens would go off at the same time. These are also used for weather emergencies, for tornadoes and inclement weather as well. And with that, I can answer your questions if you have any.
Just for more background, this is an outdoor warning system. Very often we hear people say, well, I was in my house and I really couldn't hear this. If it was loud enough that you could hear it in your house, it would be devastating if you were outside.
Those sirens are very loud. They're currently 128 decibels, which is deafening if you're standing next to one, but they do cover, we've done several studies on this. If you're outside, you will most likely hear a siren when they go off, but they are not intended to be heard inside.
This is essentially a one-for-one replacement. There's a couple of relocations, I understand.
There's a couple. The poles are, over time, over the past 35 years, as construction progressed, there's a school in Kirtland where the siren was, at the time, in the middle of a field. Well, now it's in the middle of a parking lot, so we're going to remove that and move that. But for the most part, they'll be in the same place unless progress got in the way and we need to move them. They'll be moved in the very close proximity to where they are now.
Again, this is a general fund expense. Again, we hear in recent months there's been a lot of talk about the general fund. This is yet another example of one of the demands against the general fund. Telecommunications department, you're pretty much independent and self-sustaining substantially. Your department does take care of the sirens that are not part of the emergency planning zone.
That's correct. Yes, we've done that for 30-some years. Yep.
And this system, as you pointed out, this went in somewhere between 1985 and 1987, if I remember correctly.
I started in '85 and they had just been installed, so that's about how old they are.
So there's,
The poles, anyway.
yeah,
Yep.
therein lies, because I believe the old system, the original was Wayland, converted to Federal Signal, now we're,
That's correct.
yes, I'm that old. I think that pretty much is everything. Gentlemen, anything you want to add? Thank you. Paul, thanks
Okay,
for coming in.
thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
All right, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution authorizing the county to participate in the Master Cooperative Purchasing Agreement with Cooperative Council of Governments and Equalis Group through the CCAO, and executing a contract with Garland DBS Incorporated for roof replacement of the Lake County Narcotics Agency building in an amount not to exceed $175,000.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
In the Finance Department, resolution approving payment of bills as listed on the Commissioner's Approval Journal in the amount of $2,256,663.90.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution approving purchase orders as listed on the Commissioner's Purchase Order Approval Journal in the amount of $2,199,257.84.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution increasing and decreasing appropriations for various general and non-general fund accounts.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? This is probably the right place to put this in. And to answer the previous question from Mr. Massey, there are 33 vineyards in the region, 8 of which are in Lake County. As I had indicated previously, the appropriation increase of $275,000 is part of a 2-step process. This is not a take at this time of funds from the Clerk of Court Certificate of Title. This is just the first step in that process. We did receive, over time, we've been working with our Visitors Bureau closely. Administrator Jason Boyd did send a communication down to the Visitors Bureau asking for their, let's see if I get the wording correct here, kind of the priorities, what's the top 10, and where are we at with things, and what are the projects that you're working on, because we're looking at doing some funding and helping move this process forward. One of those, or actually 2 of those items had to do with welcoming archways, of which there was a breakout of $25,000 for architectural and consultant, and an estimate of $150,000. And then the other one was destination photo stations at $85,000. I'm not sure if that's for, going back to the first one, if that's for 1 arch or for 2 arches. I'm kind of looking at it's for 1, and that one would be located in Lake County, presumably on State Route 528. Okay. And we do have some conceptual renderings that are the backup documentation for that. One of the things that I would asked to consider is, and I see Jason's taking the floor. Sir, did you want to add to the conversation? Please. Jason Boyd, County Administrator.
I just want to put some context to the conversation in regards to the history of the valley, the Grand River Valley itself. Mr. Stein, the Visitors Bureau, plural, Ashtabula County included, has been working collectively across community borders because no one cares about the red dotted line and where they're visiting and where they're spending money, where they're staying, etc. The past 2 years, I've been working with Neil and his colleague in Ashtabula County and a stakeholder group that's been around since probably 2017, where we had a consultant come in and look at the valley, a very well-known consultant, a lady by the name of Peggy No Stevens, who have done a lot of work on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail in Kentucky, obviously. She provided a report. She was here in our community for a few days from downtown Willoughby to Conneaut, looking at our region collectively. and on her way back to the airport, looked me in the eyes and said, "You guys really have something here. I'm not just blowing smoke." And she's right. And I think I give credit to Neil's predecessor, Stephanie Siegel, and the commissioners past and current in both Lake and Ashtabula County by recognizing not only the wineries, but the ecotourism aspect that our metro parks provide, the covered bridges, the restaurant, and the lakefront. More recently, probably the past 12 months, the Grand River Valley Steering Committee, which consists of winery owners, local officials, myself, et cetera, have begun to prioritize some of the things that Peggy Noe Stevens pointed out the better part of 5 or 6 years ago. In my role as county administrator to you gentlemen, I asked Neil, and Neil's been phenomenal response on, all right, we've got a ton of ideas. What are we thinking collectively as a region, as collaborators, on what would be the biggest bang for our buck from an ecotourism, visitation, putting heads in beds, people at our restaurants, etc. That's the correspondence that you have in front of you. Those numbers are just estimates. Obviously, there's engineering and design that will need to occur for any of these things to happen. The one thing that we do know, and Neil could speak better to this, but during COVID, our hotel occupancy rates pretty much from Central Lake County West plummeted. The 2 new hotels in Madison held their own. I'm not going to put a number to it, but it's much higher than the average, simply attributable to the Grand River Valley. You notice I didn't say Lake County or the Grand River Valley, and that natural resources and what they bring. When people talk about the Finger Lakes or pure Michigan, we don't hear about the county they're in, we hear about the region. So I think that's what the topic today, and I understand some of the questions and concern, but I just wanted to put some perspective on the benefit that the natural resources provided and what both counties, commissioners, visitors, what I think the direction that we're all striving in good faith. And the most important part in that packet, there's economics and impact data about what really is coming to the community. So I don't want to lose sight that we do not have data that supports some of the investments, potential investments that we see throughout the Grand River Valley. So I just felt obligated, because there's a lot of history here, positive history, positive momentum as far as what we can do collectively in Lake, Ashtabula counties, and throughout the state of Ohio. Now, like I said, I'll never forget driving Peggy back to the airport, and with all due respect to the consulting industry, you hear a lot of stuff. What do you believe? What do you take away from the binders that you put on the shelf? That will stick with me, that we really have something here, and I truly believe that. So I just wanted to provide that context to the board, and I'm happy to answer any questions on the matter in front of you currently if need be.
Gentlemen, anything you want to add? Or?
Mr. President,
Sir.
I would just say that this in particular is a really exciting project, because as we're trying to reach that level of name recognition and branding that the Finger Lakes and other historic areas and tourist sites have, we need to think about what are we still missing to this point. You know, Playhouse Square in downtown Cleveland brought in the chandelier that overarches Euclid Avenue. It's kind of their name brand, the picture that people take, their identifying logo. And having an archway as a doorway to wine country in Lake County, as well as a picture-taking station akin to the Cleveland that everybody gets along the lakefront, it generates so much free media, it generates so much social media and excitement whenever people visit those big locations. And that's exactly what our wineries are trying to capture as we make Grand River Valley a national, international brand. We've already taken major strides there, because the food, the drink, the experience, the natural beauty is there. The marketing is the one area where we keep hearing we still have a ways to go. People don't know what we have. And so when I hear a request, not from the Visitors Bureau, but really percolated up through the businesses themselves and the winery industry, that now the Visitors Bureau has bought into, the Clerk of Courts has bought into, recognizing that this request is really pivotal in terms of bringing that region to the next level, not because we're just, sommeliers, but rather because we want to bring those folks here. And you look at the economic impact that the wineries have, not just for their own businesses, but bringing people heads and beds to the hotels, bringing people to other restaurants, having people spend the weekend or a week or a vacation in Lake County. Every business we have benefits when someone says, I'm going to spend the weekend, I'm going to spend the week in Lake County. And I got a front row seat to it over the weekend as I visited the Ice Wine Festival. I saw Debonair packed and crowded. I saw Grand River packed and crowded. It's wonderful to see people from Toledo, from Michigan, from New York, who are coming to Lake County for the first time and saying, this is an incredible place. And to see them putting their dollars and their time here, I mean, that's really the future of the east side of Lake County, maybe the whole county. And while you say no one cares about where the line is, I kind of do, because that reflects the investment in our local community. Although I have to say the Ashtabula County Commissioners have just been incredible partners in this. I think that this is a significant investment that will help this industry continue to grow, not only themselves, but all of Lake County. So I'm really excited that not only the Visitors Bureau, but the Clerk of Courts have recognized this request from the business community in terms of how we can help them take their business, their industry to the next level in Lake County and really broadcast that this is the place to be. If you have a vacation, you want to be on the lake, you want to enjoy the finest wine in the eastern half of the United States, and while you're there, you want to go to Rabbit Run Theater, you want to go to downtown Willoughby, you want to see a baseball game and take in everything that Lake County has to offer. So while it's wonderful for residents, the goal is in many respects bringing tax dollars into the county and growing that pie. As it's been said many times, there are many demands on the general fund and our tax dollars, and when we can bring tourists and we can bring people into the county, that helps to meet those needs. When people talk about growing the pie and building the base, this is exactly that good work of how you can raise revenue without raising taxes. So I'm really excited about this project.
Yeah, and I obviously clear where the line is too, Commissioner. Lake County guy, but it goes, and this is my last concluding point. It goes beyond the wineries. And another example I will provide from our friends at the Metro Parks in the investment in the pier in Paynesville Township Park. I don't remember that number, over $1 million, less than $2 million, I think. They're getting plus or minus 70 to 75,000 people at Paynesville Township Park, up where the dance hall, the historic dance hall facility is, simply because people want to get to our natural resources. So another example of the ability for our natural environment to bring folks from beyond Lake County, from beyond Geauga County, the Mahoning Valley, Columbus, etc. I reiterate these stats. Fairport Harbor Beachfront Park brings in 400,000 people to our county in a season, and that season is typically Memorial Day to Labor Day. 1 million folks at Headlands Beach State Park from Memorial Day to Labor Day. So I felt obligated to speak up, to talk about with what Mother Nature has provided us. I applaud the commissioners in both counties, the visitors bureaus, for collectively starting to address what this vision looks like. And this is just the very beginning. I'll leave the professionals to figure out the marketing, etc. But I think we're on the right path. There's still a long way to go in prioritization. But I just wanted to express, where I've been the past couple of years, working with Neil, working with his predecessors, working with Ashtabula County, and kind of putting this roadmap together. So thank you. Thanks, Commissioner.
I think you're spot on. One thing that I would say, though, is, again, I'm trying to be, you guys are going to handle creative, I'm going to be more on the logistics side of things, suggesting that, again, this is a two-step process. We're talking about, let me make sure I get the wording right here, because I don't want to have that jammed at me here. Not that anybody would ever do that. This is just an appropriation. This is not the actual transfer of cash. Following the model, checks and balances, accountability, that seems to be a real theme these days. Perhaps moving forward with this as the model that we use with community development block grant funds, perhaps we should do this in terms of a draw or a reimbursement based. So as engineering gets checked off, we can help give them the funding for that. As construction is completed, we can do that. Again, in light of last year, I don't remember the exact number, but I know it was over $1 million in bed tax monies went to the Visitors Bureau. So if we could do this in terms of a reimbursement, just like we do with community development block grant, unless there's a special case or a special need. But this does give us time to have a vigorous discussion and flesh this out. So I don't know if you guys want to add to that conversation any, or not. But I would really ask that we, before we actually do the money transfer, have that vehicle figured out and get that locked down. So I don't know if there's anybody else who wants to contribute anything to this discussion, but I think we've hit all the key points. So again, this is a two-step process. This is just step one. Anything further, gentlemen?
Mr. President?
Sir.
I would just add that for residents and for anyone watching, the Ice Wine Festival continues this Saturday as well as next Saturday. So come out, support your local businesses, and see the best that both Lake and Ashtabula counties have to offer.
Alrighty, and with that, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes, thank you.
Resolution transferring appropriations within various non-general fund accounts.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes. Okay, moving on to departmental reports. Utilities.
No report today, Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you. Job and Family Services.
No report today. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. County Administrator. All good? Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk.
Yes, the next commissioners meeting is going to be held on Thursday, March 16th at 10 a.m.
Very good, thank you. Moving on to legal.
No reports, Commissioner.
Thank you, sir. Okay, old business. Do we have any old business to come before the board? Any old business? All right, moving on to new business. Commissioner Plechnik, I believe you have something for us.
Mr. President, we all know that yesterday was International Women's Day, and we celebrate that collectively in Lake County, recognizing the many contributions that women in leadership and all women make to our community. I know Lake Tran did a special highlighting of all their employees as well as their trustees, and I will say as county commissioners, I know we all have a great collective deal of pride in the women leaders that we've had the humbling experience of being able to appoint and support to the many boards and commissions in Lake County. But in celebrating International Women's Day, there is a more specific focus for this week, Women in Construction Week. And I would like to make a motion to amend the agenda so that we can vote to recognize Women in Construction Week, which celebrates all the women who help to build up our community in the most literal sense. It has often been viewed as a male-dominated profession, but that's no longer true. And we need to encourage not just men, but women in the work that they do in building the administration center, the jail, the buildings that house our new businesses and wineries and restaurants. This is not something where someone takes a vote and an appropriation builds a building. A human being, a leader, a woman is building these structures, and we want to encourage that wonderful work in our community and globally by recognizing this week as Women in Construction Week in Lake County. So I would make a motion to amend our agenda so that we can consider voting for Women in Construction Week.
I'll second that.
Very good, and under discussion, again, this is all part of the Women's History Month, so that's all very timely, and I will say this is a topic near and dear to me, being the father of two daughters. I can tell you it was one of those sobering moments when you're going through the high school guidance counselor and talking about what is it that your girls are going to do, and somehow it came up in the conversation of, our daughters know how to weld, and the guidance counselor, female of all, said, well, why do your daughters need to know how to weld? They're both pretty. Oddly enough, I was not the one that became rather flustered. It was my beloved wife, and she's usually the calm one. It was quite interesting. Our youngest daughter has gone on to become a degreed architect. She's taking over the business and doing construction. So thank you. That is truly a male-dominated industry. But it is a reflection of changing times, and I dare say long overdue. I know our trade unions are huge on recruitment and support and uplifting, but those the gestures like this are definitely appropriate. Commissioner Regovich, anything you want to add, sir?
I completely agree. As a father of a fiercely independent daughter who's in college, she doesn't really take my suggestions well and forges her own path. But she's smart, bright, confident, and she will do anything she puts her mind to.
Well said. Okay. Madam Clerk, hopefully we've captured enough. We can get you some appropriate language to tie this up into a neat bow.
Yes, we will definitely do that.
Thank you, ma'am. There's nothing further. Do you want to take a vote?
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Sir.
And now, I know that Mr. Hackman would say, you're not done. You actually have to make the motion to declare, and so I make the motion to declare Women in Construction Week in Lake County for this week, and I would further ask that a copy of the resolution be sent to the local office of the Cleveland Building Trades in Mentor, Ohio at Bricklayers Local 16 so that they can see our acknowledgement of their hard work.
But is it going to be in a genuine frame and stuff, or are we going to do that?
I would hope so.
Ah, okay. Got it. I had to get that in there. All righty.
Need to second that?
I'm standing by, so is that what I just heard?
Second
A
it,
second?
yeah.
Further discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes. Okay, and continuing on with new business. Recently this week, the City of Painesville hosted an interesting event talking about building community resiliency to long-term electrical blackouts. It was a well-attended event. Our emergency management agency was also present. I was honored to sit at the table of the Painesville Utilities Group. There was a number of exercises that were entered into during this, and the biggest takeaway that I had for success, because it was cause and effect, if this, then that. The biggest takeaway that I had was cooperation, working together, and not necessarily doing things for any one department or any one agency's benefit. Sometimes greater things can be accomplished by doing something for somebody else. That's what moves the needle, and as the metrics and the calculations of what the resiliency and survivability and comfort level of a community, those calculations did indicate as the exercise progressed, it became pretty plain. But going back to our telecommunications director and our administrator, discussions that we've had as far as benefits from our Perry power plant and our ability to respond to hazardous material events, and that has trickled down to increased effectiveness and efficiency in our firefighting services, EMT, and as well as law enforcement, those drills of which I dare say and remind us that we were nationally recognized for our proficiency and effectiveness. Those are the kinds of things, though, of cooperation, and I really think that we need to really get back to that. But this was a good event. It was, again, well attended and a lot of great participation. Also today we had the State of the City for Painesville, and the city was very, very kind in acknowledging the growing relationship with Lake County and the efforts that we have had in basically a rising tide lifting all boats. I know our administrator Jason Boyd has worked closely with the city on, I don't want to say tying up loose ends, but bridging those gaps. There's always some gap in every project, and I know Jason's done an amazing job at helping fill those. But one of the topics and organization that Lake County is a member of is the Northeast Area Wide Coordinating Agency. There were several projects that were mentioned that NOACA, as they're commonly referred to, was a key player in, arranging everything from the project right here on the square for Lake Erie College and their revitalization of a couple of buildings for dormitory and community development, all the way through State Route 44 and the Jackson Street relocation. I know that's a project that our engineer's office, probably about 3 or 4 decades we've been trying to get this thing off the ground. and finally we have it booked. But I hear an awful lot of people saying, well, what does NOACA give us? We'd make more money if we weren't part of it. But I'm going to give you a couple of examples. One was working closely with our state reps, one being Jamie Callender, who is dare I say, a bit of a visionary, making sure that things got properly funded. But the NOACA team, at a recent meeting, we did some improvement allocations. I'm going to take this number off the top of my head, 77.4 million. And that funding 2 weeks later got put in by the state of Ohio. But we, again, kind of like setting up your accounts, appropriations. We opened the door, they backfilled it. That's huge. But then let's talk about State Route 20. Again, this thing's been, since I was a child, they've been talking about doing these rehabilitations. The original estimate was $58,125,000. Right behind that, at the most recent meeting, it'll be, I believe, finalized this Friday at NOACA. An additional, because of all the cost challenges that we're seeing, an additional $8,035,000 is being added to that for a total project cost of $66,160,000. Those are just a few examples of the things that those dollars flow through. And I grow concerned when I hear people saying that, oh, this organization is this or this organization is that. Nobody is forcing anybody to all move to downtown Cleveland. Nobody is forcing us to give up our homes. And they do more than just filling potholes. This does have to do with planning and making sure that value gets delivered. I know our engineer has been one of the, I don't want to say founding members, but it seems like Jim's been there a good 25, 30 years and has been influential even in his days prior to being the elected engineer. So again, in the air quality, water quality, because Engineer Gills also, I believe his background also has to do with water quality. There's a huge component there. So there's a lot of hidden resources that come forward. But I just wanted to get that into the conversation. Let's see, is there any other new business, gentlemen?
Mr. President?
Sir.
One other item. So I hope you will forgive me for being just plain proud. As we're talking about International Women's Day, as we're talking about women in construction, as we're talking about Women's History Month, there's one young woman that I am very proud of as both commissioner and professor, and that is Destiny Leo of Eastlake, who also just so happens to be the Horizon League Women's Basketball Player of the Year, a member of Cleveland State's Horizon League Championship winning team, going to the NCAA. This is just an enormous achievement for a resident of Eastlake and Lake County, for just one of the best players who's ever walked through the halls of Cleveland State University. And I know I speak for Mayor Morley, I know I speak for this commission, I know I speak for every single resident in Lake County in saying we are so proud of you, Destiny Leo. Thank you for leading our team to arguably its best season in years, if not decades, and we're so excited to see you in March Madness and the big dance. We wish you luck, but if the season ended today, this is historic, and your contribution to the community is just incredible. Very proud of Destiny Leo as a Lake County Commissioner and a Cleveland State professor. Huge achievement.
Thank you, sir. Okay, if there's nothing further, we'll move on to our second public comment portion. Anyone wishing to address the board at this time? Mr. Massey. Welcome back. I don't know that your microphone's on, sir. Is it green or red?
You got help coming.
There we go.
Is that better?
That is better.
Thank you very much. I'm Brian Massey, 8196 Rainbow Drive in Concord. Thank you for mentioning NOACA. I have been, it's not under attack, that's the wrong word, but I've been quizzed more than once about Lake County's involvement in the WACA, and I'm trying to gather the facts that I can use for the argument why we would not be, leaving the WACA to form our own MPO or aligning with another county. I will review, what you have said, Commissioner Hamerchak, and I'll even edit the video because I think it's important that we get. I'm all against the people believing in the comforting lies and not accepting the unpleasant truths. And I just want to get the facts out there. So if you have any, if you'd like me to send a records request, for...
We've got enough of those, please.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah,
you are a little smiling on that one.
I don't want Mr. Colson coming up and challenging me again. Well, if you could provide me with some details so that I can write the article that says, here are the facts, and say what you will, about NOWACA, but here is what they have done and Commissioner Hamerchak has done for Lake County. That's what I'm really trying to address, and thank you for helping out with that. The other issue is Lake Tran. I understand that they have an agreement with the Geauga Transit Authority. I don't know the details of that, but I was informed, maybe incorrectly, that there's going to be a transfer of funds from Lake County Lake Tran to the Geauga facility, meaning that we'll be, funding Geauga County. I can't believe that is true. I can't believe that they would be transferring Lake County funds over to Geauga County. Is there anything that you can share with me on that?
I'll start with that should not be the case. I can say that, as I understand, Ohio Department of Transportation did provide the funding to look at Lake County's Lake Tran and Geauga County Transit to see if there could be some partnering, a merger, some kind of a teaming. There were 4 models that were looked at. I understand they have come to some conclusion of assisting, they being Lake Tran, assisting Geauga County Transit with scheduling, maintenance, activities that we are doing anyway. The economy of scale idea. I know that there are some places that Lake Tran can get to quicker than Geauga County Transit, and same thing with Geauga County Transit can get to some places in Lake County quicker than Lake Tran can get to. That being said, I too have heard some rumblings that Geauga County thinks that they're going to be tapping into Lake Tran funds. I believe that is a gross misconception. I don't know where that's taking root, but that has been said. I don't know. I can't imagine our Lake Tran board, which this board appoints, that we would be taking Lake County taxpayer dollars and sending those to Geauga County. I'm even looking over towards legal. I don't even know if that's even legal to do that.
I've never studied that issue, Commissioner.
Oh, okay. Ouch.
Well, I'll contact Mr. Capel of Lake Tran just to confirm it. Again, it's just I want to make sure that the information, these rumors and innuendos that get out in the community, I'd like to try to cut it off as quickly as possible. So, thank you very much.
I appreciate your bringing that concern forward, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. President?
Hold it. And I assume then, since you didn't add any more about the Visitors Bureau discussion, you were satisfied that was a...
No, I'm not, but...
the discussion was at least...
Well, the discussion, I understand it, but I mean, I've had a long history with the Visitors Bureau, and I think the people should know that the Visitors Bureau is a 501c6. They get $1 million a year from the hotel bed tax, and the prosecutor's office has determined that they meet their 501c6 obligation as a membership for memberships, and that's how they're supported, and because the prosecutor has determined that hotel bed tax are contributions from the taxpayers. I don't agree with it, but that's what he has said.
Understood. No, thank you. and I apologize, Commissioner Pletchik, I just wanted to make sure that you got your full due, Mr. Massey. So, to you, sir.
Mr. President, I just wanted to share that I'd heard the same thing that Mr. Massey had, that the Lake Tran Board had voted to perform some administrative services for Geauga Transit Authority. And so I actually did call Ben Capel
Okay.
to ask him what the fiscal impact would be to Lake County, because that's my first and foremost concern. I'm Slovenian. I'm always wanting to know where my money is.
Yeah, I'm Scottish, so I have the same problem, yes.
And the response that I got is when this program is fully implemented, when we are providing, essentially, as we're applying for grants, we work on those grants coterminously with them. As we're doing scheduling, we do scheduling services for them. We are projected, because they're going to be paying us for these services, to have a profit is perhaps not the right word because this is intergovernmental transfers, but a surplus in terms of what they will be paying us versus the cost to us, employee salaries, overhead, et cetera, of about $150,000 to $200,000 a year. Now, there will be substantial cost savings to them, too, because rather than having to hire their own grant writer, rather than having to hire their own schedulers, they're able to use the folks that we have in place, and adding their rather smaller operation to ours. Economies of scale, as the president said, really doesn't add to our costs dramatically, but it saves them an enormous amount of money. So the reason why Geauga is interested is it saves them a lot of money. The reason why Lake Tran is interested, in Mr. Capel's words, is that we're projected to have a surplus from this relationship each year. So by economies of scale, it's creating savings for both parties. That's the way it was posited to me. If that's true, I'm all for it. But I had heard the same rumor you did. I immediately called Mr. Capel, and that's the explanation he gave to me.
Thank you. That was my basic understanding when I had Mr. Capel on a podcast, and he was basically saying the same thing. So I appreciate it, and we'll just have to continue to monitor it to make sure that it really comes to pass. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And Jason Boyd, recently there's been a press release, Energy Harbor. Didn't know if this is probably the best place because it's not really new business, old business, but
Yeah, I thanks for letting me come back up. In my administrator's report, I wanted to bring this up. But yeah, there was a press release issued Monday that most folks probably saw and or read regarding Energy Harbor, which obviously we're keenly aware of due to our facility here in North Perry Village, being acquired by an outfit out of Texas, I believe Vistra Energy, V-I-S-T-R-A. In response to that, I sent a note to some communication staff at Energy Harbor requesting at the appropriate time that the new leadership of Vistra Energy Harbor, whatever the new acronym will be, we would like a leadership to meet with the county commissioners just for a simple meet and greet, know who our contacts are. We've always had a really good relationship with the utility, regardless of the ownership. So I wanted to let the board know that I've sent that note out, have received a response. It sounds like they have to operate, and I'm paraphrasing, in somewhat normal circumstances till the end of the year, and the business closure will occur. So if I do hear something from the new corporate leadership, I will certainly get with the clerks and get a meeting on your calendars.
excellent. Thank you for that update, sir. All right. Is there anyone else wishing to address the board? Sir. Welcome. Oh,
There we go.
there we go.
Neil Stein from the Visitors Bureau. I just want to say, from our perspective, Jason summed up, kind of our relationship with Ashtabula County Visitors Bureau and our promotion of the Grand River Valley. Again, I've been in my job now for a little over 3 years. We jump-started that initiative. It was started back in 2014, actually, believe it or not. Yeah. We have a binder that's that thick that I just pulled out the other day. And we've had this priority list of projects that we've wanted to do for years, honestly, before I even started. So, a lot of these projects are big projects that, we have a significant budget, but not enough to tackle some of these really, really big big projects. So, we've been able to work with the commissioners in the past on different things, with the clerk of courts previously to come up with some funding to come up with the branding and the logo, which is, again, kind of the start of this whole project to kind of really give us an identity out there. And as that needs to be number one, and then number two, everything else kind of falls in after that. So, again, Jason and I have been in contact, consistently for 3 years on different things that we've had going on.
So we really appreciate any support we get from anybody, whether it's you guys or anybody outside, to help these initiatives, because we know how important it is. Those 2 hotels are full in Madison year-round from people coming to the wineries. People forget there's that brand new Holiday Inn Express in Concord. When those 2 hotels in Madison are full, everybody goes to that hotel. That's probably the 3rd or 4th most popular hotel in our county now. And a lot of people don't realize it, that it's part of sort of the wine country because it's not in Madison. But that hotel is full. There's a Comfort Inn across from Tri-Point that is full from people going to the wineries. So, those 4 hotels in and of themselves are basically filled year round. And that doesn't even count all the hotels in Ashtabula County, again, which doesn't really impact us, but it does. The lodge that are full from those. So, there's other, huge economic development projects happening out there. The people that bought Camp Stigwandish out there are looking at potentially maybe doing a winery at some point. There's a vineyard that used to grow grapes for Welch's that's looking to become a winery. There's another small one on the lake in Madison. The old St. Joseph's Vineyard, which is now Bocce, has a massive construction project that's going to be, it's going to rival any winery you see out there, and that's right in Lake County. That stuff doesn't happen without, the support of us and Ashtabula and the commissioners on both sides, promoting this region, putting significant advertising, marketing resources. Almost half of our budget for marketing a year goes towards, wine region initiatives, because it is the #1 driver in and of itself. Everything else that we have in our county, you guys know, we all live here, is amazing. We've packaged that, the attractions and restaurants and all those kinds of things to get people to come here. But the wineries drive traffic, and then we want those people that are coming to the wineries to go visit the other parts of the county, which is a big part of what we do. So, again, we really appreciate any, assistance we get with these big projects. We know they will have a long-term impact on the region positively. However it's funded, you guys know me, I'm pretty flexible. Whatever we need to do, we're fine with it. That's fine. Obviously we'll be in communication on that moving forward, so I'm not concerned about that. So we do appreciate everything from you guys. So if you guys have any other questions for me, please let me know.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir. Gentlemen? Very
Thanks,
good.
Neil.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else wishing to address the board? Sir. John?
John Music, 45 Coventry. I'll make this short. Remember the old saying, limited government? And former commissioner said, one of the top priorities of government is to grow. And the more the government grows, the less freedom a citizen has, in my opinion. Because now, I hear all these things that this is such a good idea. Well, if it's such a good idea, why hasn't the private sector gotten into it? We get tax dollars from private sector. There could be private sectors going in some of these businesses. And then we have like seniors and everybody else hurting. Right now, we have higher priorities, in my opinion. We can't even meet our needs in some aspects. We talked about this. 1 out of 4 people in seniors in Lake County, they're predicting 1 out of 3. We need the private sector to do more. And if I listen to finance every day, at least 4 financial people. The next couple of years is not going to be good. And the thing about it is, we want a limited size of government. The larger the government grows is not a good thing. It is not. And the thing about it is, like I'm repeating myself, if it's such a good idea and we can draw all this in, well, why isn't the private sector doing it? Because we get taxes from private sector also. So I just wanted to mention, just be careful. Like I said, many people in this county, they come before anything. And the thing about it is, they can't afford their wants. And a lot of them can't afford their needs. And they've been paying taxes for how many years? 50, 60 years. So don't forget we the people. All right, thank you.
Mr. President?
Sir.
If I could say, John, I'm with you. The smaller the government, the lower the taxes, the happier this person is. But there are times when you need to make an investment, whether it's a water sewer line, a road, or an economic development project like this to actually build that industry. If you don't have those pieces of infrastructure, businesses are not going to risk spending $10 million to do a water sewer system in an area. They're just not. Even though they will make profit over the long term, nobody has the resources to take that starting point. And because you mentioned our former colleague, Commissioner Ron Young, State Rep Ron Young, I would say, if anyone needs to get a primer on the economic driver that the wineries are in Lake County and Ashtabula, you really do need to have a sit down and a glass of wine with Ron. And he will tell you how the wineries have brought in many, many millions of times, millions of dollars more in resources than we've invested. For very small investments, we've gotten enormous amounts back. We've talked about the $1 million of bed tax, roughly, that the Visitors Bureau receives. They get, I believe, about half the bed tax. I think the other half goes to the Port Authority, if I'm not mistaken.
We get 3%, they get 2%.
Okay, so it's a 3-2 split. But there is no bed tax if nobody goes to the hotels. And there was a time when there was no reason to visit Lake County, aside from the fact that, well, you had a family member there. Maybe that was reason to have a small motel here or there. There's a reason why those hotels and motels are being packed now. So they're eating what they kill, so to speak. If nobody's coming to the wine region, they're not getting those tax revenues. And that's why Commissioner Serino and I believe Commissioner Hammercheck, and I forget who the third commissioner was at the time, whether it was Troy or Young himself, voted to implement the funding for the Port Authority, because they recognized that there had to be a funding source for economic development in the county for big projects that businesses couldn't individually do. So ultimately, this is about whether or not there's a surplus. Whether you're talking about a partnership with Geauga County Transit, or you're talking about a partnership with the wine region, is it going to bring in more tax dollars than it costs? And so far, the wine region has brought in many, many, many times more tax dollars than has been invested by either Lake or Ashtabula counties, which means we have more resources for law enforcement, more resources to give discounts to seniors. If people aren't coming to Lake County and spending their money, we're not going to have the sales tax revenue. We're not going to have the resources to meet these priorities. Bed taxes, sales taxes are a direct result of whether people come here and spend their money, and a little bit of marketing goes a long way. We are the best place on earth, but not enough people know it. And that's why I really tell anyone, if you want to get an understanding of what the wine region means to Lake County, I would talk to Commissioner. I talked to former State Rep Ron Young and why he dedicated such a significant portion of his career to cultivating that industry.
He liked wine, that's why. And as long as we're getting a little history in there, Neil, please.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed the first part of the meeting. I must have missed some sort of conversation, but we just got a report on hotel occupancy. I won't worry with all the details because I didn't bring them with me, but we did actually receive more than $1 million in bed taxes this year, and part of that is just due to our hard work and growing the tourism industry. Our hotel occupancy in the county is up over pre-pandemic levels. So 2019 was a record year. We are now past our 2019 hotel occupancy here in Lake County. Again, I don't have the number. I don't want to say it because I don't have it in front of me. Not only that, in a hotel world, average daily rate, so the average cost of a hotel room is far higher than it's ever been. Even when you factor in inflation, which obviously was an issue last year, we're still like 5% higher than we were ever before for dollars being spent in our hotels here in Lake County. And obviously that's what we see, that the taxes on those dollars and the bed taxes coming to us. So, those two measures are really what we look at. Are we doing a good job? Are we growing that, the travel and tourism in those hotels? The hotels in Madison are getting literally $275 a night in the summer because of the demand. And they're sold out every single weekend, Thursday through Sunday, they are sold out. So, again, I apologize if I missed the first part. I had a call this morning, but just to kind of add a couple, hard numbers to the discussion, and we have our annual meeting come up in a month or so. I'll have all of those numbers and I'll share them with everybody, but again, we just got that hotel occupancy report a week ago, and the numbers were phenomenal. So again, due to my team, again, our staff, our board, I think we've done a great job growing that pot, especially in a world of COVID and travel and tourism going to almost nothing. I think we've done a great job. And interestingly enough, Jason mentioned the effect of COVID. Every single winery I've spoken to had a record-breaking year for money during COVID, the year of COVID, 2020. Like, what other industry had that? Nobody. And part of it is everybody from Erie and Pennsylvania and Pittsburgh, coming up here just to, get out and to do something. What other industry in Lake County had a record-breaking year during 2020? Nobody. So, it is a huge, huge impact on us, positive impact on our county and our economy and economic development. And again, it's something that I'm going to continue to support and be a cheerleader for, as long as I'm in this position. And again, just to say thanks again for your support on that, and we'll keep that positive momentum moving forward.
Thanks, Neil.
Excellent. And as long as we're getting a little history in here, because I think this is very important. You heard the reference to 3% versus 2%. The 3% goes directly to the Visitors Bureau for their general fund, their needs as they see fit. They have their own independent board. This Board of Commissioners, we appoint 3 members. They have, I believe, 4 that they appoint internally. The Port Authority, the 2% that they receive is legislation that was passed a few years back for within 1 mile for lakeshore improvement. That's a key element. But the history to that is, and I think this gets lost, Commissioner Young actually took the lead on raising taxes. I know he's infamous, which is more than famous, that's more than famous, regarding, there it is, he saw the need. It was clear and convincing, changed the laws in the state of Ohio to accommodate that. Our port was the lead agency moving that legislation forward, and Ron Young was the lead legislator for that. Going back to our Visitors Bureau, though, for the longest time, they would receive 2%. There was a 1% holdback. The county commissioners of the day when that was first put in, the other 1% was used for the East Lake Stadium. When that obligation was met, that holdback continued for special projects that were of importance to this board. It was determined that it was appropriate to either vacate that 1% or forward it directly onto the Visitors Bureau as was being done with the other 2%. Again, Commissioner Young, at that point he had switched from being Representative Young to Commissioner Young. Rather than vacating or lowering the tax, he saw the wisdom in sending that over to the Visitors Bureau for them to do their good work and continue that. And if the commissioners find a project of interest, we go to them and say, hey, take a look at. So that relationship is there. I thought that was appropriate to show what a integral and somewhat unseen role Representative Young, Commissioner Young, as he continued forward. And yes, he does love his wineries. I think he can give you the history on the wineries like Dan Troy can give you the history on legislation. So there's a little synergy there. One of the other things that I think should be also discussed, and this is to Mr. Music's point, I have a high degree of familiarity with Madison Village government as I had the privilege of serving there as a councilman for 11 years. We chose to make necessary improvements to water and sewer. We worked closely with our Department of Utilities. We worked closely with the, Ohio Public Water Works grant monies. We tied into Lake County as a second source of water, pulling it down from River Road. I know this might sound like a little bit of minutia, but the development taking place at Interstate 90 and 528 right now today is because of the groundwork that was done by local government. And the closer you get in local government, the closer you get to the people. This Board of Commissioners, we're the last stop before you get to the state level of government. We represent the people. Our working closely with the Visitors Bureau is not an example of growing government. I'm concerned that there could be some misunderstanding there. They are charged specifically with branding the county, getting the information out there. Our Port Authority, which is now the Lake Development Authority, they are the economic development engine of the county, working closely with all of these. That is not a matter of growing government. That is a matter of efficiency and people who are, I mean, you like to use the word subject matter experts. These are the subject matter experts. So properly respecting that does not mean that we are growing government. It does not mean that we are abdicating our responsibilities. We're just putting it in the hands of the creative folks. I'm sure you've heard me numerous times talk about the creative side. I look to my colleagues for that. I'm more the logistics guy. I keep the trains on time. That's kind of my thing. But finishing the thought, though, with Madison Village, not only did we secure one hotel, and there were some challenges because of the economic downturn that occurred in 2008, not only did we secure one, but two. And that was because of investments by the community, that it now brought in private investment, and we're seeing that value being returned back to the community. So having two people who also serve in their communities, gentlemen, I think this would be appropriate for you to also add to the stuff that you have experienced and done in your communities. Mayor, councilman, if you want to remember those hats.
So I can tell you as the mayor, you hear the word economic development all the time. What's it really mean? Those are dollars we want to spend that come back, that create more dollars in the future. Whether that's promoting new business. In Willowick, we had new businesses come in and new buildings built. And any way we can help them out. We did it with CRAs and TIFs and things like that, which are, tax breaks and stuff like that. But here we are 20 years down the road where now that pays off. It pays off for the schools, it pays off for the city, it pays off for the county on a new housing development. Businesses come in and employs people, we get income tax. All those things happen. And the wineries, the lake shore, the lake is our biggest assets here, some of our biggest assets here in Lake County. So things like that with the help of the clerk's office and to spend those kind of dollars, we'll see that come back. I'm confident in that. And as Commissioner Plesnik eloquently stated earlier, that's what it's all about. And Neil's team does a great job at promoting that. And I've never seen so much excitement. As Commissioner Plesnik said, he was out there last weekend. The place was packed. And if you look at license plates in the parking lots, it's not all Lake County residents that just go there. They're from all around the region. They're from other states. And that's what we want to see. Filling those hotels is huge. That means then they have to make more hotels, right? Then when it increases, it keeps increasing. And so those are the kind of things. And it takes a long time. Government moves slow. And it takes a long time to see that. But 15 years ago, 20 years ago, the wine industry out there was a fraction of what it is now. And we're still just scratching the surface, in my opinion. So,
Mr. President,
sir.
Reaching back to my old days as councilman, I remember we had a councilman who would always say, economic development is like magic. You never know. Businesses, they come to an area that's hot, and then it's not, and then they leave, and no one knows what makes it hot or not. Well, no. Every municipality, every county is in constant competition to be the most business friendly, to bring those businesses, those jobs, those dollars in. And if you're not affirmatively reaching out to bring in the business, they will not come. The idea that you sit there and hope that people look you up and say, oh, that's a nice place, I think I'd like to put a business there. Maybe that happened 50 or 100 years ago. Today, you are in direct competition. A business says, I'm looking at Willoughby, I'm looking at Euclid, I'm looking at Erie, Pennsylvania, why you? And you do, as the mayor, as the commissioner said, have to be competitive with tax abatements, TIFs, agreements. And I remember as councilman negotiating the tax abatement with Produce Packaging, which is the biggest business in terms of jobs brought to Lake County in the last 10 years. It came to Willoughby Hills, it came to our county community, and went back and forth with their lobbyist and their general counsel over every detail of the agreement. They argued on this, they wanted that, and they were going right to the other cities that were being considered, and they were trying to see what's the best deal that they could get. And the challenge was to win that debate, but not give the farm away. And it's a constant work. So whether you're dealing with a baseball team, a winery, or a major manufacturer, you have to show them that Lake County is the most attractive, and you have to reach out directly. They don't just come on their own anymore. It is a competition, and it's a global competition because businesses these days can be based anywhere. It's not just we're competing with people in Cleveland and Euclid or Pennsylvania. We're competing with the whole United States. We're competing with the whole world for tourist dollars, for businesses, for manufacturing. And sometimes we do need to make strategic investments, whether it be in the form of a tax abatement or in a permanent improvement, whether it's a road, a sewer, or a monument in marketing like we're talking about today. Sometimes you have to make those investments because you can open a winery in the Finger Lakes, you can open a winery in Michigan, you can open a winery here, you can go out to Napa Valley, California. Why do you want to be here? And that's our mission, to show why this is the best place and to really win that negotiation. But the idea that business comes on its own, if you just put out the sign and say we've got free land, I got to tell you, if your councilman or your commissioner is telling you that's their economic development philosophy, vote someone new in. Because it is a competition, not just locally but globally, to bring in those businesses. And if you don't, then you're stuck in a position where raising taxes is your only option. You got two choices. You either raise the rate, which is a tax increase, or you raise the base, which is to bring in more businesses, more tourism dollars. And I'm in favor of raising the base. I'm in favor of growing the pie so that we can meet those needs. And we've seen that in the wine region. This is not a hypothetical that we're at 8 wineries now. 2 years ago, it was 6. I mean, we're seeing an incredible growth on the Lake County half of the Grand River Valley. And I want us to be able to say in 2 more years it's 12, in 2 more years it's 15, in 2 more years it's 20. And I think we're in a realistic place to get there when you see the construction that's already happening. I mean, my goodness, to have a couple of lakefront wineries and restaurants, to finally cross that threshold, I think it would just bring in just an untold amount of excitement and tourism dollars if we could make that happen for Lake County. And I don't want to say if, we will make that happen for Lake County.
Thank you, sir. Okay, if there's no other public participation at this point, I will entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting. There is a request for a executive session. The purpose will be personnel and employment. There will be no business to be conducted afterwards. Do I have a motion to adjourn for the reasons so stated?
Moved. So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes, thank you.